All right, welcome back, Chelsea fans, to another episode of the London is Blue podcast. That is right. You have myself, Nick, and our friends Nat and Jess here to do another Chelsea in South America special. That's right. We are back with, look, these episodes are favorites among the crew here. We like to have a little bit of fun and cover off on our comrades who are playing either, in South America or in Europe at this point. And Nat, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. A lot has been going on for our club in Chelsea and countries now with the international break. So, yeah, we got a lot to cover.
Lots to cover indeed. Jess, your team is playing as we speak. So if you
Yes.
break out in celebration, it's
Yeah.
fine.
It's
You got
okay.
it.
Yeah. Just like to setting, like to explaining it to everyone. My club in Brazil is currently trying to get one of the spots to go to the first division, and we have 2 games left, and we are currently playing, and we are winning so far. But I'm just very nervous. But yes, let's see. Let's hope it
Stay tuned for
happens.
a live
Yes.
update as
Yes.
either tears of joy or tears of sadness creep in.
Yeah.
Well, look, guys, let's start off on a relatively happy note. Chelsea, third in the table.
Yeah.
This is a squad that's undergone a huge amount of transformation in the last handful of years. Finally feels like it might be starting to pay off and turn a corner a bit. Nat, how are you feeling about the season so far? Give us a grade through all 3 international breaks that we have now played.
Yeah, I don't know if I was expecting too much or I was just reading it super differently, but I feel like we're doing what we're supposed to be doing, what I
Mhm.
expected Chelsea would be doing at this time of the season. For me, the most important part so far, I mean, third in the league is awesome, but the fact that we've won every single game in the Conference League is also awesome for me. It is what I said it on the first pod we did. That was what I expected, and I feel like that gives us kind of a margin to rotate the squad better, especially because the festive season is coming, so things get crazy that comes. So yeah, I'm. I feel like we're heading in the right direction. I want to see what's going to happen in January, because I feel like there will be some changes happening, and some of them may be big. But yeah, as we're now, I feel like we're heading into
Cryptic.
the right direction.
Yeah.
Now with a little cryptic, something maybe happening. What's your
Yeah,
score out of 10 so far, Nat? What's your score out of 10?
like 8, just because I feel like we could be doing
Hey,
better with the squad, how we're using players and everything, how we're
yeah,
giving minutes to the academy and all. But yeah, an
I'm
8.
like 7.5 myself. Jess, what about you?
I'm people are gonna say I'm pessimistic or negative. No, but I would say this is me being happy. Okay, this score is not there's a it's like 6.57 if I'm
Oh.
happy. Yeah, no, but there are reason, but I'm happy. If you want I can explain, but I'm happy. That's truly.
All right, well, I'm going to allow you to expand on a
Okay.
happy point. What has been the best part of the season so far? Either best positional group or best tactical change, or what's your favorite part of watching this team right now?
My favorite part right now is actually a player. It's watching Moses Caicedo. I think he has been
Mm,
fantastic. He has been fantastic for a while now, actually, which is
mm.
as stressful when people say, "Oh, he has been playing for 4 games." Like, no, 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 no.
No.
He has been playing consistently since January, but just right now it seems like things are clicking where other fans, like fans that are not Chelsea fans, but fans of the league and journalists, are finally recognizing what we have been screaming about, and it's been actually great to see him getting that. That has been the most incredible thing. But I think as a fan, what I've enjoyed the most is that, I mean, it's Chelsea, so you're always going to have some sort of toxicity and sometimes of struggle when it comes to the fans. But I am actually enjoying like I don't know if it's like positivity around, but it's like people have belief again, which is something that
Mm.
I
Yeah.
think that we missed for a long time. So even if we're like going behind a game or even before like a schedule, people are like, okay, maybe we're not fit, but I believe like we can do something if we show up. It's like that belief as a fan base for me was missing, and right now we have it. I remember like in the past seasons, if we went like we were behind, I'm like, okay, that's it. I can't see us coming back. And right now you have that feeling of, okay, no, come on, we can do this. And I know it's like a very subjective thing, but I think it's a testament of things finally clicking, and you're seeing the players that are very young, obviously still very young, but finally understanding how to play. And I think the team itself and the manager are connecting with the people. They're going to Stamford Bridge and the away games, and I think that's very important. It's just this feeling of, okay, we are finally, it seems like we're stable almost, and it's a feeling that we didn't have, and it's not, now it's up to us to take it to the next level. And it's just that, okay, how far can this team go? Only time will tell. But I think there's this aura, let's say the word that people love. It's this aura of positivity that we can go back to where we belong. I mean, maybe with time, but it's just the hope, the belief is there, and that's great.
Nat, I'm gonna catch you on this one. What's the best thing about Chelsea so far this season that you're really
I'm gonna
enjoying?
say something in like behind the scenes, but I feel like the players not getting injured is like the best part. I feel like we've been suffering so much the past few seasons, so not seeing players get injured week in and week out has been the best part for me. Just because, as I said, we can rotate the squad, we can do well in all competitions. I know we were knocked out of the Carabao Cup, but I mean, there's still the FA Cup, which I rate more than the Carabao Cup. So yeah, I feel like this behind the scenes things is my highlight of the season so far.
It's a good one.
Amen. Yes. What's your area of biggest concern right now? What are you looking at as like, we have to fix this one thing to really have a chance to do something this year?
Robert Sanchez, for
Agreed.
sure.
Sorry, agreed.
For sure. Yeah.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
That's not
he's
getting
gotta be
fixed
fixed.
anytime soon, guys.
Yeah, we need Maresca to see the light. He needs he needs to see the light and understand, let it get into his heart, because I feel like Sanchez costs us so much in terms of, there's, as Jess said, there's hope and positivity that we can get back in games and everything, but there's also that, oh my god, we can concede at any minute so far. So I don't know. I feel like between those two. But yeah, other than Sanchez, I feel like we should be doing better defensively overall. Not gonna put it on him only, but I feel like sometimes we are fragile defensively because of the way we play, so I kind of understand. But there are still mistakes that can be corrected. I feel that should have been corrected already. So let's see how we do, especially because we are having a break now for another 15 days. So maybe some things can change.
I mean, here's the other point, Jess. Like, obviously, I know you're on the Sanchez train with this one, but
Yeah.
I mean, this team it's been so stop-start at the beginning of this year. This is now the third international break, and that's up to, I think, 42 days off already at the start of this season, which is just bananas. What are your thoughts on another area of concern if it's not Sanchez?
You took my one complaint. No, I'm just kidding. I'm gonna say it's not an area of concern. It's more about, because it's not something that's on my mind constantly, but I tend to look at the long picture, and I think that the squad balance is a little bit off. There are still certain areas that clearly need to be addressed, and areas where we have a lot of talent, and we're going to be talking about some talents that are going to come in. So just how to, it's not, as I said, it's not a concern per se, but I think that we still need a lot of outgoings, and just to see how things are gonna work. Obviously with Sanchez, he is my main worry, and it's not because of him actually. I need to it is because of him partially, because I think he's actually being quite good as a shot stopper, but it's just that there's going to be a mistake or more. You know, there's just going to be that moment. And for a goalkeeper, for me, that security that you just don't have. And I also don't think, and that's why I sympathize with Maresca at this point, I don't think that we have incredible alternatives. I'm not someone that has watched Jorgensen to be able to talk about his ability, but you know, we just have.
That's not your solution.
Yeah. So exactly,
you're asking the wrong question there. Yeah.
Yeah, so for me, it's about, you can try some things, and I think he should, maybe, just because we know what we have with Sanchez, maybe try it, but it's just a position that I'm concerned about in the long term. And also, as we're talking about squad building, is the winger situations, because right now it's good to have a lot of options, because when Nani is not going well, my club just scored. Yoo-hoo! So anyways, so when
live update 2-0.
Yeah, 2-0. Yeah.
2-0.
So it's like when Nani is like dipping form, then you certainly have Modric. I know, even though they're playing on different wings, it gives you alternatives, because obviously we have Neto that can play both and all of that. So it's good, but we're just adding more options there, and we're not taking anyone out. And it scares me about what we're going to do in terms of outgoing, especially with George. So, you know, those questions are things. But as the way that we are playing, I guess I would definitely agree. My main concern is our defensive unit. Defending in transitions for us has been a problem for a long time. And how do you fix that? I actually think Andrey will have a lot if he does join. He would be incredible. Oh no, the goal was taken back offside. Yeah, but so, you know, it's just how to find that balance, in particularly in transitions. I think with Levi and Fofana, it's something that it's building. I know a lot of people are losing patience because of silly mistakes, but I actually believe in the pairing so much. I think they complement each other. So I think with time and consistent, because people forget they're very, very young, it's going to come. But I think, weirdly enough, our main problem defensively is how to adjust the midfield to deal with transition. It's not necessarily about the center backs. And my concern right now is, how do you find that balance? Obviously, Caicedo is a main one. He's staying; he's not going anywhere. But how do you deal with that if Lavia is injured and has a knock, and Enzo is not the guy that you want to defend in transition? So how do you deal with that? Do you pull a fullback? And yeah. So it's just that would be my main concern, because we need to find an alternative to defend it better.
All right. Well, Chelsea have last question for the first section of the pod here. 10 matches upcoming. Mostly gets us through the festive fixtures and then into January a little bit. So Chelsea come back from this international break. Leicester away, then Villa at home, then Southampton away, Tottenham away. So 2 aways in a row. Then Brentford at home, Everton away, Fulham at home, Ipswich away, Crystal Palace away, and Bournemouth at home. Opta Analysts rates our schedule as the easiest of the fixture difficulties of the entire league over the next 10 fixtures. 30 total points available to get. How many points do we get, Nat?
Something between 23 to 27. I swear I'd say 30 if it wasn't for the festive fixtures and all. But yeah, I'm confident. I feel like we're going to have trouble with Villa at home, probably, and Brentford, because they always like to play against us for some reason. But other than that, I feel like we're good. I hope we do differently against Bournemouth than we did away. But yeah, I'm confident. Something between 23 and 26 points.
Jess?
In theory, we should be able to get 30. So like in theory, I would agree. I wrote down between 21, 23, which is because I can see us winning 7 out of 10 and just maybe getting 2 draws or something like that. But again, I say this, but every time before a game, I'll be like, yes, we're winning. Definitely winning. We're winning, and we're going to be 4-0. So it's just, there's I can separate my mind. So yeah, I think less than 21, I would be very disappointed. I'm not going to lie. Yeah. So 21, 23 for me would be okay-ish, but we should be doing better than that. Let's be honest. We should be we should be doing better.
23 for me is the absolute floor of
these.
Yeah. if you are who you say you are, and you're this
Yeah.
team that has all this depth, and you have all this rich attacking talent, and you can score goals, and you're going to need goals during this period because there's tons of mistakes during the festive fixtures.
Yeah.
It's a calamity. Like every team's kind of on their last leg because they're playing. I think we have 9 fixtures in December alone, which is nuts. I mean, you're basically playing every 3 days for the entire month, right? So I'm thinking 26. I think the Villa home and Tottenham away matches stand out as like potential to lose points. But I think Fulham home is going to be sneaky hard. They're kind of playing well right now, and I'm interested to see how that goes. But the rest, you got to win. You have to win these games. You made it through that gauntlet of fixtures in October and November to get to this point where you have some teams that you should feel comfortable beating. So, man, I'm shocked that I'm on like the upper end of this. I thought you guys were going 30s for sure.
No, I mean, it's like, it's a difference, right? So for me, if I'm being like completely objective, almost like I'm like not negative, but I just trying to see every scenario because we've been there, we've seen it all. So I think anything less than 21, 23 is like, it would be absolutely unacceptable, I think. But as I said, in theory, we should be able to, if not, not get 30 points, get really, really close to it. And it's like such an opportunity, right? We can't let it slip.
Yeah. And we can even build in goal difference against Leicester and Southampton, even Ipswich. I don't know. That could make a difference as well. So if we don't win every fixture, okay, but we can build on other things. And I feel like we're going to do it.
Yeah.
Bam. All right. Well, on a positive note, we will come back and talk about one Andrey Santos and then on to some other players. But thanks to the sponsors, and we'll be right back. All right. It's Andrey Santos time, our favorite time of the podcast. And boy, since we last spoke, it's only gone from strength to strength. There is a ton of quotes out there. I'm going to read some of these to start off. Look, Strasbourg's manager or senior comes out and says, "It's a pleasure to work with Andrey Santos. He listens and has a great character. We've worked with him." This is prior to the Nantes game. Worked with him this week to get him on the ball even more. Tonight he was rewarded. He has a good feeling for shooting, to be in the right place in the penalty area. This was followed up because of this performance with Maresca getting a question about him in the pre-Manchester United build-up on, I think, the 2nd of November. And he said, Andrey Santos shows what we have said many times, probably for some players, it's better they go prove themselves and then can come back. Now is too early, but if he continues in the way that he is playing, he could be an option for us. And then Andrey follows up this whole thing in the goal.com story with it's a goal after this loan that I'm currently on at Strasbourg. I like to, it's like I said about the Brazil national team. If I perform well, things will happen naturally. It's a dream to play for Chelsea, where I was bought. I understand that it's hard for a Brazilian to arrive right away and start playing for a big team in Europe. But guys, I mean, we're looking at October Player of the Month. We're looking at a couple of goals and a Player of the Match. We're looking at 5 goals, all comp so far, 19 shot creating actions, 2 goal creating actions, a bunch of charts here that I put in from Opta. I mean, where do you want to start, Jess? I mean, this is a player who is not just, I think, understanding the responsibility and the opportunity that he has, but is absolutely thriving.
Yeah, I remember when we first got linked and people started asking me about him. He was playing the 2nd division here in Brazil. And people were like, is it too soon? I was like, absolutely not. I would agree with a lot of the players. And I usually tend to take a step back and say, okay, this player is not ready. This is not ready. You have to give him time. But with him, it was just very, very obvious that he had, like, from a very young age, the right mentality and just how the way that he presents himself on the field. Obviously, he has been captain throughout the academy for Brazil and the under 20s, under 17s and everything. And he just gets it. He has that way to be very mature. The way that he speaks and the way that he plays and the way that he trains and how he deals with everything. It's beyond his years. So for me, he was the one that, in my opinion, was immediately ready to make the jump. I'm not saying, play 100% for Chelsea and right away, not that, but just getting those minutes and building. And I think it was reported that he was the one in the first time that wanted to go on loan just because he understood how important it was for him to get that game time. And so he has been proving that for me. And I think for people that doubted him, that he is ready, that he is capable, and he has just put himself on another level to come back to Chelsea and really give the manager like a headache. Because I think before that, you would say, okay, you have a good player, a capable player that can sub, you can use for subs to rotate and all of that. Whereas now you're having a player that is slowly getting recognition in Europe. I think he's already getting a lot of recognition in France and in the league, but people are starting to take notice. In Europe, they're starting to take notice. Obviously, Brazilians are starting to take notice of what he has been doing, and I think we will talk about later on about him not being selected. And I can already I saw like when the list came out, a lot of Brazilians that are not Chelsea fans are like, okay, but what about Andre? He's been doing great and all of that, and the questions. And that is a testament of what he has been, that it worked, like his idea worked. So it's now up to us to make sure that he does come back. And as I said, when he comes back, I think he comes back in a different level even if in terms to push the players that we do have. I don't think he comes back like in the obvious starting 11, which I don't agree with. He should be a starter, but no, but I mean, he comes having that respect, I think, of having gone to two good loans, showing that he can do it week in, week out, and obviously more mature with his what he's doing. And he offers stuff that we don't have right now in our midfield, I think. So that's important as well.
Yeah, let's take a look at this chart that our friend Keir Doyle put out, along with this excellent tweet that says, "Why do we like Andrey Santos? Because he cracks people and he scores goals." And he put together
Yeah.
this chart that on the x-axis is tackles 1/90, and on the y-axis is goals per 90. And look at old Andre right in the old corner there, Nat. He is roughly 2.6 tackles per 90 and roughly point 5-1 goals per game. I mean, this is starting to become a complete player in a league that is evolving in front of our eyes too. This is not the same league on that it has been in previous years. There seems to be a little bit more parity in the league.
Yeah, so he is the complete midfielder that we always talk about. He was just in the making. Now we're seeing the end product, which is crazy because I feel like he's just 22, 21. So he's far from being the end product at the moment. But yeah, what he's been delivering is insane, especially because of his age and everything. But as Jess said, he's like on another level. It feels like he's a veteran. He's been playing in the League 1 for years and years, and that's like his first year. Let's put it this way, because he arrived last January in Strasbourg, and then he came back to Chelsea, and now he's there again. So it's gonna be exciting to see how he does at this end of the season. I really wanted to see him back. Really, really wanted to see him back at Chelsea, but I understand if he stays because it would be better for him to get minutes. I feel like he could be going into that Reece James path of getting the armband in the end of the season, showing a bit more responsibility. I don't know. I can see it happening just because of what Rossinier has been saying. And I feel like that Strasbourg team is also so young that he could step up and be like, I feel like he's already a leadership in the squad and everything. But I mean, getting the armband is the mark. So I can see it happening at the end of the season, maybe in a farewell. I don't know. Just like it happened to Rich James when he was at Wigan. But yeah, I'm excited to see where he goes just because, as we were saying, he was a bit of a surprise that he wasn't called up, especially because midfield in Brazil right now, in the national team, of course, has been a major problem for me. I feel like the balance isn't there. And when you get an Andrey Santos profile player, um, that's very complete, that can impact on both sides of the pitch, in both halves of the pitch, it does have a presence in the area, in the attacking area, in the defensive area as well. So yeah, I was surprised to not see him, but I feel like in 2025, in the first international break, we'll be seeing him there. And I'm excited to see him because Chelsea are going to have a major national team players in South America squad, So, yeah, a lot of people will be traveling from London to South America in the next few years to represent their national team.
So, Jess, I look at this heat map that Opta put out of Andrey Santos touches, and it's basically the entire field. And this was done, I think, October 30th. So there's more to add into this list for sure. You see his shot map. He's taken a few pops from outside the box. He's obviously scored basically everything he's taken from inside the box. He's winning duels all over the field, including in his own defensive half, right in front of his goalkeeper, making critical blocks there. What do you make of this? I mean, this is a player that I think no one had any doubts about his ability to position himself appropriately, to receive the ball, to pass the ball. Obviously had a bit of goal scoring in him, but feels like he's really taken the opportunity to up the physicality and become more combative in a way that is going to make him really, really useful in the Premier League one day.
Yeah, I mean, I remember, again, when we first started getting linked with him, I used to get the question a lot. Oh, compared him to a player like in Chelsea history, who could be? And to me, it was like very obvious. And I think to anyone, it's not like me, because it was just very obvious that it's Michael Essien. He's like the Bisson. And I would say, okay, I'm not saying he is that quality. I'm not comparing like in terms of how incredible they are. But the style and the characteristics of how they like to play, they look very similar, especially when he was here in Brazil in the second division. And people used to say that he is a sole DM. Like right in the beginning, I was like, no, he is a box-to-box midfielder. He can play as a DM. I mean, he has played, but it just limits his, as Nat mentioned, so much the ability to get in the box, and he's crazy with the headers, and it's just you limit his game if you play him as a lone DM or as a DM. So box to box midfielder, as we have been seeing him play, and to me, it's a joy. I think to actually see him evolve, because it's like it's going how you would expect, because you in the sense that you see, it was like, okay, I knew he was different. Like I knew that, that sense of like he's so good, but at the same time, he never stops to amaze. Like it's always he keeps constantly surprising me in terms of his maturity on the ball and how calm he is. You mentioned the duels and the heat map and how he's always running around. But if you look at him, it's always so calm. Like he knows where he needs to be. It's never rushed. It's never something like, oh, it's the last resort, I'm going to go out and run and tackle someone. No, he knows how to do. The timing is perfect. And it's great. Like it's solid. And obviously, you don't have to mention how great the Bizon was for us, and hopefully Andre can have a similar impact, or at least a 1 ounce of a tiny little bit of impact that he had. That would be great for us. But I can actually see it happening if he was to be given a chance, just because his game kind of fits what we have in the Premier League, right? That the physicality with the headers, and just to me, he fits what we want, and he fits the style of play of the Premier League.
Yeah, I mean, you're speaking my language. Michael Essien is among my very favorite players of all time.
Yeah.
Him and N'Golo Kante are neck and neck fighting for that territory. So I mean, yeah, one thing that I think is super important to point out, that like dual winning is an art. This is not something that is super easy to do. Again, as of October 30th, when this map was pulled, he was winning 67% of his duels, which is a outrageous number. It's a very, very, very good number. At the point in which this was pulled, it was 63 won and 30 lost. I compared him, Nat, to a couple of players to give me a sense of like, who is this guy really? The first chart was against Romeo Lavia, which I think is like the next step up in competition for him to kind of win over, right? And we're talking about players with a lot of different characteristics, and frankly, like still not a healthy Lavia. He's also not healthy coming back from international break again. So this is an area where, potentially you're comparing apples and oranges. But Andrey Santos map, very blue, very consistent. Spikes for Lavia in interceptions, passing percentage, dribbles, and he has more turnovers, or less turnovers than Andrey Santos does. But Andrey's playing a little bit more of an advanced role than I think Lavia has been. Otherwise, very, very comparable. This is, a pretty easy map. Then I compared him to Vitinha at PSG because I was like, okay, we're talking about central midfielders who are, have the ability to creep up in the box. And Vitinha scored goals, and I think he's had a pretty great summer at the Euros. Andre's right thereabouts, with a very experienced Portuguese international. I mean, this is like you're watching these maps, and of course, like the passing percentage, Vitinha's at 91.5, Andre's at 87. Progressive passes, Vitinha's higher. He's playing a little bit more of that deep line playmaker for PSG right now. Tackles, Andre's blown him out of the water. Headers won, Andre's blown him out of the water. Scoring contribution, Andre blows him out of the water. The rest of it kind of feels about the same, a little bit more progressive carry distance from Vitinha. These are, I think they're apt comparisons, and Andre's fighting in his own right to be right there.
I feel like we could run these comparisons with many, many, many other midfielders right now who are on a high, and we'd be seeing him in pretty much the same levels. That shows how consistent he is, how much of a box-to-box midfielder he is. He does have a lot of turnovers. It's okay. He has the ball. He tries that pass that usually people don't try. So it's not something that I put a pin on it like, oh, it's a big problem. So yeah, it just shows. I feel like we could be comparing him to Caicedo and even Enzo Fernandes. He'd be pretty much in the same level. I know the league, the context is different, but yeah. And about Lavia, when you said he isn't fully fit yet, and I feel like this is something that Andre kind of that gets Andre ahead because he's always available. It's very rare for him to get injured, so I feel like that could be a plus for him if he does come back and has a proper chance to fight for his spot. And as we were just talking, he can play in very different roles. So I feel like that would be interesting, especially because I expect the team to be in a better rotation when it comes to movement on the pitch. And I hope we're all connected in better ways, the players now, and us as well. Anyways, so I feel like with an intelligent player like Andre that can help in every single aspect of the game, he's all around. So, yeah.
Can I just add one thing to what Nat said? Because it's just absolutely what she said. But one thing that I think we're missing right now is that what happens if, hope it doesn't happen, but what happens if Caicedo gets injured, right? So we don't have anyone that can do what he does. And having someone like Andre, even
he
like
would be Andre,
he would be able to do that. And I think, like we mentioned, his age, he's 20 years old. He's 20. So that's insane. Yeah, he's 20. It's the same as Lavia. I think Lavia is 20 as well. But yeah, so just having that, like Nat mentioned, to play in different roles and offer the flexibility with the squad in terms of resting key players. Even just like that, he would already be so important for us.
I still, and I know that there have been plenty of people since we mentioned this in September when we did one of our first ones of these episodes. Depending on how Lavia's health goes, which has been kind of an up and down scenario this year, I think when there have been moments in which Lavia's played where he's looked good and healthy, and there have been moments where he hasn't looked very good and clearly now isn't healthy coming back from international break. If he is not healthy, I think there's a massive chance that Santos comes back in January, because I don't think you can risk killing Caicedo in the way that you're basically have to play him every match right now for your midfield to be any sort of complete. I mean, we're recording this pre-Leicester, obviously, but there's a huge chance that Caicedo isn't back until Friday, and then who knows if he's fit to play the weekend. Same with Enzo Fernandez, obviously, coming from qualies. You have no Lavia potentially, so you're playing a midfield of Kieran Dewsbury Hall and Vega. I mean, that
Possibly.
to me is it's not the most deep midfield we've ever had. So
Yeah, but that's the thing. Casade and
Yeah.
Chukwuemeka, apart from them not having chances, they're not deep lying
No.
playmakers or defensive midfielders. No matter what where Maresca tries to put them or make them play, that's not who they are at all. I mean, Carney is a bit of a box to box, but his presence on the offensive game, on the attacking half, is much more. We can see so much more the way he impacts on the ball, much more than off the ball. Andre has that balance that not Chukwuemeka or Casadei have. So yeah, I hope nothing happens. I hope we all stay
Yeah.
fit, all of us, players, fans, everybody. But yeah, it's it's something to think of. I swear,
Yeah.
I've been saying that since the first part. I can see him coming back in January, even if
You
like
guys
he's
have
fit
to
and
stop.
everything.
No. You guys have to
But
stop this. Yeah. Because I'm convincing
no,
myself it's never happening, so I don't get my heart broken. And every time you're like, okay, but maybe, I'm like, no, my heart can't take it.
I
Yeah.
I
especially
would
because
put
I don't
it.
see many. I don't see Carney staying. I don't
I
see
don't see either.
Casadei staying. I don't also see Maresca giving proper opportunities to Russell Denny or any other academy
No.
at the level that would be required to be a sub, a proper sub like Andre would be, you know? So,
I think we're talking about a 50-50 chance, right?
yeah,
And like that, from earlier in the year, I think where uh, Jess was a negative 100% chance. I feel pretty good about that. But look,
Yeah.
we're gonna round this episode out with a little chat about Estevao. We'll talk a little bit about Kendry and then finish up with Anselmino. But thanks to sponsors, and we will be right back. All right, we had to move off Andre, although there's plenty to chat about because another player whose stock just keeps rising through the entire roof is Estevao, who is now beaten Neymar's record in terms of Serie A goal contributions for an under 17 player in the 21st century. I mean, that's remarkable. We're talking about one of the great talents here, Nat. I mean, Neymar sending him a bit of congratulations for breaking the record. Hope you continue shining and enchanting people with your football. You guys are just beautiful in the way you speak. I mean, we're talking about a player now with 13 goals and 8 assists on the season, all comps. We're talking 21 goal contributions this year on an XG of 9.4. 117 shot creating actions and 15 goal creating actions. Wonder kid, Nat. He's a wonder
yeah,
kid.
totally. And he has a lot of shot creating actions and not goal creating actions because Flaco Lopez and Rony like to miss chances. So he should be he should be
Higher.
higher on those goal contributions. But yeah, it just shows, he's I don't know. I can't even speak honestly. He just amazes me, and I've said it before. I wasn't really into him. Like, I was like, let's see, we'll see what's happening. But yeah, it happened, and he's the top goal scorer in the league. He's the top assister in the league. Yeah, and the Brazilian league isn't that low of a level as many people think. I
Thank
mean,
you.
compared to the Premier League and everything, maybe it's in a lower level, but it's very competitive, and there are a lot of fixtures. We got the same fixtures as the Premier League, but the traveling distances are pretty crazy. So yeah, that just shows that he's got the mental side of his game as well, because he goes from, for example, São Paulo to Salvador, and that's like a big trip, like 2.5 hours, 3 hours. Then he comes back to São Paulo, and then he has to go to, I don't know, Fortaleza, which is also a 2.5, 3 hour trip. But yeah, so it just shows that he's got that mental side of him as well. And he's pretty much always available, which is fun for me to see because I feel like he has to grow so much physically, so much. And that's something that worries me at the moment. his physicality. I feel like he can beat everyone that comes against him in pace and acceleration and intelligence. But I don't know, these physical duels, most of his injuries were because of physical duels, so that worries me. But yeah, we are on the path to seeing a great player playing for Chelsea, and there's lots to be excited. There's everything to be excited to be true, and I'm very excited personally to see if Neymar is actually coming back to the Brasileirão. I really want to see him play against Estevão, either in the Paulista Championship, which is in January, February, or in the Brasileirão. It will be fun to see the master and the pupil coming against each other.
Yeah, I mean, look, we're talking, Jess, about a player who, you look at some of these stats, which are remarkable. He's in the 90 plus percentile in shots and assists and non-penalty XG and shot creating actions and progressive carries and successful take-ons and touches. I love this one, the progressive passes received, i.e., I'm in the right area and I'm receiving the ball in a place where I can do some real damage with it. You look at open play, shots created for others, 4.1 a game, which is remarkable, 3.6 shots, 2.45 carries into the penalty box, 3.1 successful dribbles. Need I go on? I wax poetic about the young man.
Yeah. I'll never get tired just because he's great. For so long, I think since Neymar left, to have that one player that just gets everybody off of their seat. Because I remember, like, even with Vini, because when Vini, he was entertaining to watch, and like Rodrigo wasn't, but it was never something like there was not that unity of Brazil just enjoys. It was like the fans, like Flamengo fans would always support Vini, and everyone else is like, oh no, he's not good enough. You're just overrating him. So that was the bickering that you constantly see within fan bases. And so when you have a player that there is able to kind of transcend that, almost like in the sense of like, oh, I hate that he's so good type of thing. It's just it's great. Everybody loves watching him. For the national team, everybody keeps clamoring for him to get the call up, and now everybody keeps clamoring him to actually get to play.
Yeah.
Just because I think he embodies what Brazilians love about football. He is that type of player that Brazilians love, where he can bring in the joy and the joy, the way of play, the style, the dribble, but at the same time the decisiveness. It's not just joy for joy. And to me, that has been the biggest mark of his game. He always does something with intent. He never dribbles just to dribble. There's always an end game to get a better position, to give a pass, to find the next thing. It's never just the samba, as you sometimes see with Neymar, sometimes even with Ronaldinho. It's always like it's calculated. And to me, that's just so incredible to see. Recently, the thing that I've been enjoying the most is just watching the way that he reads the game, the tempo. He's always like looking everything not to get offside. He reads the game when it's happening. It's like I like to say that's Thiago Silva's just because for me Thiago Silva is a player that embodies seeing what's going to happen before it happens, and that to me is like a true mark of a craque, like we say in Brazil. And he has that. He understands, he knows what he's going to do or what's going to happen before even us as fans, we're watching, we're like we have no idea what's going to happen, and he's already like almost like 3-4 seconds ahead of us, and it's just great. It's as I said, it's fantastic. I was as you said, just the ability to bring everything together, not just for the joy, but as you mentioned, just lead scorers of goals, lead scorer of assists. And if you think about like we've been craving for a star in the national team. And obviously, Vini is doing incredibly well in Real Madrid. And I would say he is currently, without Neymar, like the biggest name currently in world football. But the name that gets everybody excited, oh, I want to see him play. I want to see what he does for Brazil. That's Estevão. And that's just insane because of how young he is. But if you'd say, okay, I'm going to watch, I've heard so many people say, oh, I'm watching this game because I want to see Estevão play. I want to see what he does. It's just like crazy.
I mean, 5 games left this season. Season finishes on December 8th. How many goals and assists in the league does he end with?
Let's
Yeah,
see.
I'm gonna say. I said he was gonna get double digits for both stats. See?
Yeah.
I feel like he's going for at least 10 assists, and he's probably scoring at least 15 goals, which means he's scoring 3 in the next 5 games.
Yeah, I think that's doable. That's doable. I was looking. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun just because there is a Palmeiras Botafogo game, which last year was all about Endrick, and again we are in a pretty similar position in which Palmeiras and Botafogo are pretty much competing for the title. So it will be fun if um, Estevão is doing a Endrick this time, so he could get himself a hat trick in that, and maybe end the season with 20 goals. I don't know.
Whoa.
Maybe.
Wow.
15 for sure he's getting.
Yeah, I agree.
Sure he's getting.
For me, it was the most encouraging because he had the injury that you mentioned, and there was this big worry about, okay, how does he come back? Like, is he like how Abel is going to utilize him with few minutes, or does he come straight in? Because before he got injured, he was like on a crest, like he was just flying, and then you stop with an injury, and it was just big question mark of, okay, what happens now? Does he come back at that level? He came back even better. It was like insane. And then the first game that he came back, and for the last, I think, like 4 games, he scored 3 goals and I don't even know how many assists. It's just the first game back, he just, for me, it was the best game I've ever seen him play. It was just, he scored assists. Just the only game that he didn't assist, Palmeiras did not win, and he was the best player on the pitch. It was just, it's just like he keeps taking it up. Like every game, it's like a new thing.
Yeah, and he's not scruffing these goals over the line. They're like lasers into the upper 90. I mean, it is
he
something.
Creates a lot of chances, and the players get it off the line. And sometimes miss. So he should be, at this moment, he probably should have got his 10 assists already, but his teammates ain't that good.
So 15 and 10, so you got 25. Jess, what's your number?
I don't know. Because I don't want to copy that, but because I tend to be like with 5. I'm gonna say, how many goals do you say? How many goals did you say?
15.
15.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be around that because I don't want to let. I need to check who do they have? Botafogo,
Bahia, Atlético Goianiense, Botafogo, Cruzeiro, Fluminense.
Oh yeah,
he's kind of rough. It's kind of rough.
I think he's getting more. I feel like,
actually. Yeah, he can get more. Atlético Goianiense is pretty easy to beat. He can get a hat trick easily. They are relegated. They are the last team in the league. They are just playing because they have to. They have nothing to play for, and yeah, he can get 20 goals. I swear he can get 20 goals.
How does 16 and 12 feel? I think 16 and 12 is
where that's good.
Yeah,
that's good. That's good. For me, what's interesting is that when Palmeiras, I mean, he scores a lot, obviously, but when Palmeiras are playing really well, he usually does not get a lot of goals. He gets more assists. And when Palmeiras is not doing so well, he gets the goals because it's almost like he does, okay, I'll do it myself. Like, you're not help, I'll do it myself. And it's just so, like, it's 1-0 and then it's his goal. So it will be interesting to see.
I got some quotes for you guys in recent interviews. He's getting more and more interviews, the more well that he does. I want to make history and become the most successful Brazilian in Chelsea's history. Some competition there. I want to win titles and show all my potential, show everything I can do. There was Fabrizio did this interview where he basically was like, but Bayern had come in late for him this summer when the Olise swap was happening. And it was essentially like late and it was knife's edge. One was going to happen or the other was going to happen. And, he ended up with us. And I think your point earlier, Jess, about like what happens when these young players join Chelsea between him and Kendry, who we'll get to next. Graham Bailey is saying, what I'm hearing about Estevao and Kendry, Chelsea are making sure that there's going to be room for those two guys next summer to mature. The excitement that I'm hearing from some Chelsea sources about those two, they think they've hit the jackpot, especially with Estevao. They've beaten Real Madrid and Barcelona to that player. So, he goes on, what does making room be? What does making room mean, I should say? the question is who, right? You're talking about a
Yeah.
logjam of minutes that's keeping Enzo
Yeah.
Fernandez and Nkunku out of the team, right? Which is bananas. He says, "quote unquote," they're going to make sure that those two have everything they need to push for first team football. And if that means making room in the squad, some of them could find themselves the odd man out.
Ruthless.
That
Yeah.
is that. Well,
Sheesh.
yeah, you're
Yeah.
playing at Chelsea. I mean, like
Yeah. Yeah.
this is what it is. And so I think if you are, keeping track at home, that's wingers that include Madueke, Mudryk,
Country.
Neto, who's finally coming around a little bit, right? And, someone like Jadon Sancho, who's a loan to buy option, who's a little bit older. Then
Yeah.
you have, right, as tens, you have Nkunku and Palmer. And, that's interesting competition for one Kendry to kind of think about. So, I mean, yeah, it's going to be bonkers this summer because you have the
Yeah.
Club World Cup, and there's a big chance that Estevao plays in that competition for Palmeiras. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm very interested in this because to move on to Kendry really quick, which Nat, I'm looking at you here, obviously, per our normal segment. Rumors have kind of started around Kendry, right? We're kind of reaching the end of the season. The last time we talked, he was in a little bit of hot water, but I think has since that's calmed down a little bit, which is good. Rumors that he's potentially due to join Strasbourg next year, which I'll be honest, on the surface, I don't hate. I don't hate that
Yeah.
idea. Because I don't know what happens in the lineup shakeup that we just talked about. Like, I don't know how these guys fit and are given the pathway to first team minutes right away. That would seem to be a pretty safe landing ground. And Andre, obviously having success as he has, feels like there might be more of a system to set them up for success. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I was gonna say that if Kendry does go on loan to Strasbourg, he's gonna be an Andre, not an Angelo, who's not even at Chelsea anymore in terms of impact and what he can do. And I'll only believe when I see it, when this Kendry and Estevão getting first team minutes, getting a first team shot. I'll only believe when I see it, but they surely have what it takes. Kendry has to put his head on the right place again, and I feel like he's going into that direction. It's good to see him back with the Ecuador national team. He played a few minutes against. Totally forgot who they played first. Totally forgot, but he
We
did play a
we
few
have the
minutes,
internet. We have the
and
internet at our
yeah, he did great when he was on the pitch. He came on during the second half, and he did his usual. So I
Bolivia.
just really want to remember. Jesus, who?
Bolivia. There you go.
Bolivia, yes. Yes,
Yes.
it was a pretty easy game for Ecuador all around. So Kendry came on. The game was pretty much decided already, which will be fun to see what happens to him in the second game of this international break if he starts, because he did enter the game and have a pretty decent performance. So does he start or does he come off the bench again? But the most important thing is that he's back on the starting lineup for Independiente del Valle. Mostly because Sornosa, which is their main man, for some reason that I don't know why, I can't explain honestly, but he's injured, and now Kendry is kind of the star. He's playing as a 10, um, or central attacking midfielder, whatever you like, but he's in that position to be their main creator with some liberty to move around, going to the right, going to the left, because that's what he likes to do. Um, so he's been doing great, not scoring or assisting as much. I feel like he's getting that confidence of his back, which is a major part of his game for sure. But yeah, I feel like he's getting back to the right track. As we've said in the past, but I don't know if it's happening, but it would be great to see him and Estevão and even Anselmino, which we're talking about shortly, at Coban with the first team to get a feeling of the squad of Maresca, who I think they didn't meet yet. So yeah, I'm excited to see what Kendry is gonna be doing, just because there's also their championship Independiente is in the final, but they can get the title if they win this closure, they call this closure moment of their championship. Independiente are doing everything they can to have that major final with LDU, but there's still a chance they don't have that final, and Kendry could be a major part of it as he assists and scores and is the main creator in that team. So yeah, I don't hate the Strasbourg move. Going back to the main point of the question, I don't hate the Strasbourg move, and I feel like he could benefit of it, just because again, Strasbourg will be in a better shape with for senior next year. They'll be more ready, as so to speak. So yeah, I don't hate it, but I still feel like he needs to get a chance with Chelsea first, maybe in the Club World Cup. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about a player now, Jess, that has played 86, 81, 90 minutes over the last three matches. I think after all the international breaks and such, has a goal in that time. Feels like it might be we're back on the good foot again. Still has some pretty impressive profile. Is a super talented guy. Do you hate the Strasbourg move potentially?
For Kendry, or no, I don't. I wouldn't even actually hate it first of all. I mean, I would hate it, but I wouldn't hate it just because for me, like emotionally, I would hate it because I think, they could contribute. It would be ideal for them to be with Chelsea. But objectively, I can't hate it because it all depends on what happens with the squad. I mean, there's no point keeping them around if you're not going to give them the development that they need, the minutes that they need. And you can't do it wrong with gems like these. You have to do it right. You have to make sure that you have everything that you like. Obviously, developments are crazy, and sometimes it doesn't work even when you have such a huge talent, but you have to do everything in your power to make sure that you have the best path available. And minutes are a major part of it. You have to have the consistent minutes to give them to understand what it is to play for a huge club in a big competition. It's just different stakes. And that's the main thing that you need to worry about. And what happens, I mean, if Unkuku leaves and then you have João Felix, you have Palmer, what's going to happen? There's so many questions. Then I just don't think that we have the answer to those questions at the point that we're at. For me, I'm just excited to see them join. I mean, I'm saying them because I'm just assuming Kendry is going to join because Estevão said, or maybe not, because Estevão said that he's coming to London in like around December, January, to meet the squad and everything. So, I mean, it happened with Kendry before where he came and trained with everybody. So hopefully it would happen again and you can actually get them together and see. So I'm excited to see that and how they do with the training videos and all of that. That's already such a huge, for me, impact when you're talking about South American players. We need it's like a need, emotional need that we have.
Oh, yeah.
I think to feel part of something, like part of a family, that's huge for us to feel that we matter. And I think for players, it impacts in the way that they play when they feel they're important. I know it's silly. It may sound silly for a lot of people, but it's actually like a cultural thing almost to feel like you matter. People are listening to you. You're part of this. You're important. So just that thing of feeling a part of Chelsea, it goes like, you don't even know like the impact that it could have. So I'm just very excited for that. But yeah, there are a lot of questions for the future. I'm not sure even the sporting directors know the answers to all those questions yet. So we're going to see in the transfer window. But yeah, I can't hate it if it means that he's going to have the proper development and help him, helps him settle down in Europe and all of that. So
cool. Yeah. Last one is Aaron Anselmino, who I think is gaining a bit of momentum as of late. I mean, now 12 matches played on the season, 874 minutes in the league, has a couple of matches in the Sudamericana, 3 assists in the league, and 7 shot creating actions even for a defender, which is not too shabby. But he is getting a ton of minutes, and he's playing in matches where it looks like Boca might have even picked up a little bit of form over the last month and a half or so. Obviously showing, I think, some of the things that we've talked about previously, Nat, that where this player is really about positional play and making tackles and interceptions and blocks and putting himself in the right areas to be a real factor. So just go on about his recent form here because it looks like, at least on the outside looking in, that he's starting to really get a little momentum.
Yeah, Boca switched managers. I guess last time we recorded,
Yeah.
they already had changed, but now he's like 5 or 4 games in, and he's had a bit of a rough start. Although he had a bit of a rough start, Anselmino was a starter most of the games, and mostly the rough games weren't because of him. It's just because his partners they should be retiring, to be very concise. Marco Rojo, Medel, they all should be retiring. They are too old to play the game. It's that
No,
meme. I can't
Nat
remember who said it.
Nat looks so nice. She looks like the
Yeah.
nicest person in the world, but she's
Yeah.
a killer. She just absolutely kills people.
No, but seriously, he holds that line, and he's holding a line of very much experienced players at the age of 19, which is crazy for me. And I see Boca trying to add more older people in the squad. They are not Thiago Silva level, and I'm like, oh my god, Anselmino run. But yeah, he's been doing great. I don't know if you guys know, but he got an injury.
Injury.
He
Yeah.
got injured in it was in the thigh, I guess. A muscle injury. It was a second degree. I don't know, degree two
It's like
or.
1 month.
Anyways, yeah, he's gonna be out for a little while. But I saw some pictures of Boca training lately, and he was there. So I don't know. Anyways, Boca has this big run in the cup. They have the semifinals against Vélez, and they should be looking to win it if they want to go back to the Libertadores. And the plan was to get Anselmino ready for that game so that he can be a starter in that game. So that shows his place in Fernando Gago's team. And he's been responding to the way he should be responding to, say, yeah, that's my place. The other players are going to have to fight for me for this position in the back line. He's been mostly playing in as a right center back because now Boca play with a back four. So yeah, he's been scoring as well. He scored the goal that one of the goals, or it was, I guess it ended 1-1. He scored Boca's goal in the quarterfinals of the League Cup, and then it went to the penalties, and Boca got through. So yeah, the thing is this injury thing that's kind of a bummer because it's his fourth this season, but I feel like this is something that if he goes to Carbon as well, that should be addressed. I don't know if that's in the scope of Chelsea and everything, but I feel like it should be. And if it is, that should be addressed. I don't feel like it's that serious. He had one injury that got him out of action for a little while, but the other ones were like weeks, a month tops. So, yeah, he's got he doesn't have a lot of games left, but he does have a lot to prove, and I feel like he's gonna do it.
Jess, final thought on Aaron here.
No, I mean, I think that said everything. He was having a good run. Finally, as we said in the last pod, that he needed to get that consistency in the minutes to show, and he was growing on it. Sadly, he got injured on the last game. I think he went off during halftime or something. But so there's the rumors that he's going to be out for a month. But with the international break and everything, and they're pushing to have him back, so we don't really know exactly. Sometimes they just say, "Oh, it's going to be a month," but then they play him anyway because of the importance of the game. So we have to wait on that for later. But it doesn't look serious, as Nat said. I don't think it's going to impact. I mean, it's sad because you never want to see injury, but I don't think it's going to impact his growth or the what he has been showing. Because as you mentioned before, Nick, Boca's finally starting to get a little bit better and understanding what the new manager wants from them. So I think they're going to continue in that path. Maybe the injuries are about the center backs he has to play with,
No, yeah, but Boca has been having a lot of injuries in the season as well, so maybe it's something institutional. He can
Don't
me do
get
something.
don't
Yeah.
get Nat started again.
yeah,
She's
yeah,
No,
already
I'm just
yeah,
I'm
she's trying
just
to
saying
retire these
Boca
poor
is a
guys.
mess.
yeah,
It kind of their situation right now in terms of injury kind of reminds me of what we've been dealing with the past few
yeah.
seasons. They had a lot of players injured, a lot of players getting injured throughout the season. So maybe that's something on the club, not on the player. That's why I said I'd like to see it getting addressed, see what's going on, just to get that feeling, and maybe Chelsea can do something to help. I don't know.
Well, look, guys, another excellent special. We've covered so much ground, and we're coming up on a big, big month for Chelsea. I think 9 matches in December, and we've obviously given our predictions on how those matches will go. But appreciate all the insight, of course, from both of you, and I'm glad that you have Twitter back so that people can find you and tag you and give you their thanks. But until next time, Chelsea fans, you know what to do. Keep the blue flag flying high.